Hello and welcome to episode 154 in this series where I'm programming an NES game live on Twitch. Let's get started. This was a delayed start, partially because I was late, partially because we were talking about uh, video game console modding. So, anyway, last time we were talking about how are we going to load, how are we going to handle levels, specifically, like right now we're hard coding that we have this maps high and maps low, and then from there we have objects high and objects low, which are the objects files for that's the object file for the level. That's the initial level file. And then we're just including those binary files. And while that works, the problem is that like each level now can potentially have multiple of these files that we need to include. And you know, we could hard code this. Maybe we start by hard coding this so we understand what the format is that we're actually looking for. And then once we kind of get a good sense of how that works, we can then figure out how the export tool will actually put this together for us, so we just include one file and that file will kind of reference all of this stuff for us. There's some additional challenging things like meta tiles being part of how we export, and some of the other information like these palettes and whatnot. But we'll just take it one broken thing at a time. I will mention also that in about 10 minutes I'm going to have to pause the stream to move towels into the dryer. Sorry. It was one of those weird things where it was like, why are we doing laundry right before a stream? And the answer is because, well, we need clean towels. So you'll just have to bear with me here. So this was divided up this way because if I remember right, in order to load the address that we're reading in from, maybe not. How did we... So when we go to load the level, we're doing it from here. Okay. Yeah. So you can see here we're using maps high and maps low, and we're storing that value into ROMEM, and that's because that is what we use to actually, that is our pointer to the data that we use to load the map at runtime. Let's see, where is X actually set? It's not set anywhere. So I was kind of theoretically prepping it for if we wanted to do an offset into these object low and high labels, but we don't actually do anything with that. We are setting up the pointer here for the object data. So that's good. So that would be something that we would potentially have to change also as we swap through our map stuff. I think what I'm going to do, probably going to just change this to be an external file just to kind of like start the process here, because that's what we're going to end up with anyway. So this is the end of our NMI, I believe. So let's do I think this being assembly is probably what it's going to need to be initially. It could end up just being binary. I don't know. We can always change it though. So I'm going to put this all into here, and then check player collision. ASM doesn't need to go into there, but probably this stuff does. And then that's all kind of just hard-coded stuff. Okay, so in theory this should have changed nothing. So far that looks the same. Palette. That's interesting that the palette color for the background is different. Everything else looks right though. Weird, because that had been right last time. The island looks good, but the background color looks wrong. It's almost like that color got messed up somehow. I'm not sure why. We can try and figure that out in a second, but everything else looks like it worked. Okay. So, the problem with this is that it assumes that there is only one part to each level. And in the project format here, it's not going to scroll over for me. So, yeah. So we're assuming it's like there's level 1 and then there's level 2. And for level 1, you have the map data, and then you have the data for the objects that are on the map, which are these things, right? But that's not exactly how that works. Now, I mean, in theory, we could do something where we like define how big this is, and then you have the data, and then you could define how big the next piece is, and then you have the data, and you can iterate through there as you need to. But does that give us... Do we have enough to go on... trying to think if that is enough for us to be able to then move on to the next thing. Like for this, not sure how that even would look, to be honest. So this is loading level data. That's not even what we want to do here. What we want to do... Let me kind of draw this out so I can think about this a little bit better, because I'm having sort of a hard time visualizing what this process would look like. So we have, for example, this chunk, that's a level file, right? And it has whatever objects are in it. And then we're going to get to the end, and we know we need to do something, right? Right now we're just defaulting to the repeat scroll, but we could theoretically load another chunk of level and do something with that. So at the time that we do that, if we said, okay, all right, I think I know what we need to have. I think we need to have some data for the level that kind of tells the code what the sequence of maps kind of looks like. Where we say, like, we have a regular level, then we have a repeat scroll, then we have a repeat scroll, then we have a regular level, and then the level is over, right? So we just have, and then we have to have something that says how many bytes there are to read. So that lovely little chime is the washing machine. Just give me 1 second to, let me put that in the dryer. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. All right. The other thing we could do is if we said we went back to this is one option, right? This is just kind of like a little string of bytes. The other thing we could do is we're already including data for this chunk of map. If we included the size of this thing and said this is 520 bytes, and then you increment 520 bytes, you are at the end of the map, and then you could look and see, okay, is there another... Imagine having to use electricity to dry your clothes. That's exactly what we use to dry our clothes. Although we could have a gas hookup for the dryer. It is pretty cold out right now. I don't know how well things would dry. You're in Brazil, right? I believe. So it is 57 Fahrenheit here right now. which 57 F2C, that is 13 Celsius, roughly. So it's a little chilly. And it's still kind of humid, even though it is starting to be fall. So, anyway, so we could have a number of bytes, and then when we get to the end of that, we know that we would either get like something that indicates that it's done, or we'd have another set of bytes. But the thing is, for repeat scrolling, there would be no map, essentially. So could we just use a value that is nonsensical for an actual map? But I guess we could. We could say, like, it's 1, right? And it's 1 because we know that we don't have to... That's repeat scrolling. So maybe then we say, okay, if it's repeat scrolling and it's 1 there, then we want to put the new camera position, like we have to set up for the repeat scrolling, so whatever the Y world position is supposed to go to based on the height of the dummy map that we create. Y world position. What else do we have to include in there? That would be it, I think. The object data works the same, no matter what. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's in winter. In winter here, we get to, you know, 0, both Fahrenheit and Celsius, depending on how bad the winter is. So it's pretty cold. Our neighbor dries their clothing outside sometimes if it's decent out, but yeah, we just use the dryer here. So now, so that would give us the repeat scroll, and then when it's done, it could go to the next part of the map and be like, okay, this is another 1,000 bytes, and here's your bigger map piece. That might be better than having this whole separate part, because then it's just continuous and you don't have to be swapping back and forth between checking. You would just need to kind of remember, you'd have to have something that remembers where was the last position you looked at for this data, which is okay. It would have to be a pointer, so it'd have to be 2 bytes. Yes, they can be arbitrarily high. And that's part of like the benefit of doing this, especially for this repeat section. You could have that be pretty large, but have almost no data associated with it, because all you'd be recording is the objects, like the enemies that you want to come out. But then it would just keep showing the same background, or maybe like similar backgrounds, and there could be some sort of algorithm that intersperses some additional tiles in there so that it looks a little bit more visually interesting, and just being, instead of just being one meta tile completely the whole time. So that just means that basically anything that needs a real background would have to have the data outlined properly at whatever size you want. And then the other cool thing is that, like, if you want to have one section that's extraordinarily detailed, but the rest of the game not be, then you know you could have a repeat scrolling, and then you have your data just for that one section, and then repeat scrolling, repeat scrolling, repeat scroll. Like, there's a lot of options there. I think that's going to actually work pretty well in terms of saving space, but we'll see. So I kind of like that option rather than breaking it out into a separate list. So that means that we will have to look at this and take a look at how big that is. So one thing, if you've ever looked at this and you see it says 2K or 1.7K, it's pretty inconsistent. And that's just because they're rounding, and you really want to know the file size in terms of this size, this 1,743 bytes, not this size. That's the size on disk. That's because of the way that hard drives and file systems work, and that's like the smallest savable amount of space for a file because of the way it kind of segments up the drive. So yeah, don't look at that. You look at this, or if you're oops, nope, not the feedback hub. If you're looking at it and you want to look at it in something like Fred, once you open it in Fred, it should tell you same size, 1743. So 1743 in hex is 6CF. So that's the other thing. Those sizes have to be 2 bytes, which that's what I expected because it's pretty large. Yeah. I was just checking the format there because it's been a while since I've done this. So oops, 6CF. Right. Yep. So that's the size. So I'm going to comment this, even though eventually I think this is just going to be generated. This might actually end up just being a single binary file that gets imported. I'm not sure. Like all of the data that we're about to have here. What's nice is we can just kind of mess with it however we want right now. So that's that, and then we're saying like this is going to be 1, which is going to tell it that it's a repeat scrolling section, right? And then so 0 will be the end of the level. And then what was the highest Y value here? It's actually in the file, I think. As the height. So the height is in tiles, so it's 450 times 8, right? 3600. So the Y world position is also 2 bytes. That's how we're doing it now anyway. So 0E and then 10. So size of map binary data. Map binary data. Size of map is 1 for repeat scrolling. We're actually going to reverse this because we want to make this do the repeat scrolling first. But let me just finish this comment here. Followed by Y world position, or Y camera. It's the Y camera world position, and then 0. End of level. And then for the objects, the objects have inside the file how many objects there are. And so I think we're okay to just do, I mean, I guess the map has that too. The only reason I was thinking we needed the size was because... Oops. It's a good thing that was empty. Mostly. The only reason I was thinking we needed to have the size was so that we didn't have to maybe calculate it, but at the same point I think we're kind of jumping into that anyway. So maybe we're not really saving much by including the size. Not that saving the couple of bytes is that big a deal, but it's more of a, like, are we going to actually ever use that? I don't know. Let's take a look at the data, or let's take a look at the code so that we can figure out if that makes sense or not. Let's assume that we don't. Let's assume that we don't need that size. I take that back. Let's just make this a type, right? A map type. Followed by the Y camera world position. And then let's say that this is a standard map, and then it's just gonna, you know, read into it, and by the very nature of reading into it, it will know how to find the end of the thing and keep track of that for then reading the next byte. And in this case, the next byte is going to be 0 at the end here. Oh, wait, so that doesn't work. That should be 1 and 2. So this is kind of like a hybrid of what I was saying. So it's not a separate list, but it's also not keeping track of the height. And then for this, because we know how many objects are in here, we can find the end pretty easily. And then this is, I think this is ocean object. Ocean1 object.bin. And we talked about this before. I think this is 140 bytes. Or something. Oh, no, this is... Did I stop? Oh, I might have stopped an export previously while we were working on this, and so it doesn't have the right data. Let's check what's going on there. That should have been a small number of bytes, but not 2. There we go, 141. So yeah, I think because I must have stopped the export, it just updated the file with minimal information. Oh, I don't want that in there. I want that in here. And you can see that this should now... Yeah, this has more information, including the fact that there are 14 objects that were exported for that map. So going back to this, I actually have to reverse this order because the Ocean1 object bin is the file that correlates to this thing. And then for this map, based on the size of the map, it should calculate how to handle that properly. Anyway. So now... So this is going to be interesting. So the call to load level... Load parameter 3, if it's branch, if not equal. If it's 1, then we're going to skip. Okay, yeah, so initially when we're loading the level, it clears out that stuff, right? which is good because we wanted to turn off the PPU, but we don't want to do that sometimes. So, all right. This doesn't care about repeat scrolling at all. This is just literally loading the level hard-coded from here. So we're gonna have to, there's gonna have to be changes here to how that works. So parameter 1 and parameter 3 are used, but don't actually. So parameter 3 is, should document this. Param 3, if true, skip updating, or if non-zero, skip updating PP registers. Parameter 1, if I remember right, is used to determine so that is used to determine which map it's reading from. Now, I thought there was also something where we skip redrawing the whole screen. Because, like, when we load the map up after a repeat scroll section, we don't want it to draw all the way across the screen, right? We want it to just start drawing the level. So load full screen, branch if equal to load full screen. Load a parameter 3, load for, oh, okay, right, because it's also going to blank out, okay. That makes sense. If non-zero, loading, wait. Just want to make sure about this logic because it's used for exactly what I was saying, but I just don't skip count. If it's non-zero, skip camera adjustments. With 0, we're okay. It's kind of backwards, sort of, but that's fine. If 0 blanks and redraws the map completely, otherwise this will begin drawing in place. All right. So right now we're passing. So this is no good because right now this is assuming level 1 object, but this should really be objects high and objects low, and then to get the address of level 1 object, and then yeah, and then it can read based off of that address. So let's fix that. Need some sort of variable for that. so what we want to do is we want to load I think I want to call this something like level objects, just to be a little bit more specific. All right, so this is loading level objects. Oh wait, we do have. So that's just kind of. Well, that's weird. Why did I do that? Oh, because it is. So I already have that. Why? I don't know why I'm not using it in both places. Like in one place I was just hard coding it to get the level object count, but then I'm setting this up for level object data. And then using it for actually doing some work here. Looks like I'm actually incrementing the value, which is okay for what we're doing here. So I'm fine with this. We have that here. The code before that was just getting the level object count. So now what we want to do is just say level that's got to be referenced with the pointer. So this is the part that I forget because like we're not doing it that often. Is like how those opcodes work. Yeah, that's what I thought. So you can't do that with X, you have to do that with Y because level object data is a pointer. But let's just double check that I'm not misremembering what my options are here. Load A. So I can load it this way with X, or I can load it that way with Y. So this is if this thing has the pointer and I want to increment the pointer by X before fetching the value. And this is, I've got a pointer and then I potentially want to go a certain number of things past it. Oh wait, but does that yields the same result, right? Because if I'm loading an address of 1000 and I add X to it and then I fetch the value, or I have the same value in Y and I get the value of the, or I dereference this and then take Y. Am I missing something here? I probably am, but so if I load a value of 7 and store that into, say, 500, what is this doing? This is loading. So let's say I'm storing that value at 500, right? And then I'm going to say, let's load 5 and store that at 0. And then Wait, it's got to be the other way around, right? It's low and then high. And then 5, oops, 5, store that at 0, 1, and then load A with, spazzing out here. Load Y with 0, and then I say load A. 0 is the address of the variable with whatever is offset by Y. I should get back my F7, right? And then let's do this, and then load A F8 and store that into 501, right? It's cool because you can actually see it updating the memory here. So that does that. If it gives me F7, if I run this, I get F8. So now if I load X with that and do this, is it incrementing this address or is it incrementing the address? I'm not sure. Yeah, okay, so it's incrementing. All right, that's the difference. It's incrementing the address that you're using. It's incrementing this address by X and then doing the lookup versus this uses the address and then increments the address from here. So we do need to use Y. Just wanted to double check instead of like assuming that that's going to work and then it messes up everything. All right. So going back to my code, this should be using Y, but Y would not be useful here because it's not set with the right values. So transfer X to A, transfer A to Y, and then load that, and that should give us our level object count. And then this is going to increment it afterwards to get past the level object count and then start processing some other things. Or is it even doing that? I don't think it's even doing that. I think it's just incrementing it to get past that, and then that's it. So that should be okay. That should give us our level object count the way that I need it to. Trailing garbage character. Sprite types inc. What? Oh yeah, what's that all about? That's weird. Okay. I don't know where that came from, but we're just going to assume that that was something that got broken along the way. That's okay. Right, I renamed these to Wunderbar. Okay. So things are going to be broken because of the way that we did this, but I want to look and see when it's loading the level, did it get the right information about the level objects to start off with? So here is the point where it's going to have that data. Level object count is E. And I think that's right. It is right. Okay. And just to confirm that that actually isn't just a random coincidence, you know what we can do? We can just change this. Let's just change this to say AD, and then we got to rebuild. Obviously that would totally break things, but I just want to make sure that that data we're reading in is actually legitimately the data we think it is. Hi, are you going to reload? Reload. Okay. Start. Level object data. Level object count is 80. Okay, great. So let's put that back because that is not correct. It is 0E. So that's good. So that means we are reading this file 100% correctly now. So the next part, that means we've read this. So the next part is that it needs to look at these new bytes that are going to be here and know what they mean so that it does not try to load, for example, level data that does not exist in a scenario like this. I'm going to leave it so that it doesn't load anything at all right now, because I don't want to be dealing with the background modification stuff just yet. I just want this to kind of prove out that we can read this and do what we need to, and then once we get to the end of the repeat scrolling section, we can check this and then say, oh, this is an actual map, and then read that, load that level 100% the same way that we were doing before. And then when we get to the end of that level, read this byte and go, oh, okay, the level's done. So how do we do that? So this is the row count. I believe row count is literally the first thing in the map data. So map1.bin. $105. Let's look, because I don't remember. Thought that's what it was, but it may not be. Oh, is that the height? That is the height of the map. So if we go to tiled and we look at this, the height of this map, it's saying is 210. That's saying 105. Oh, right, but it's half because the meta tiles are twice the size. They're 16 by 16, so that is correct. All right, so instead of this being the row count, this is now going to be, I'm going to do this before without changing this logic here. Load a row mem y. So this is the map type, and then compare it to believe we have okay, cool. So we actually have it defined this way, but just in reverse. So let's fix that. Let's do it this way to make it match. So 2 is repeat scroll. 1 is a standard map. End of level is 0. Okay. So now that we have that, we can actually look at we can compare the type using this background mode thing. So we can say background mode repeat scroll branch if not equal to we'll do, I don't know, we're gonna do something there. But if it's not equal, then we're gonna jump. So this is we're gonna jump here to something else, right? And then we're gonna compare it to background mode. What is that called? Standard map? Just map. Range of not equal to, and this is we're done, right? There's nothing else to do because it's 0 and there's nothing else to load. I forget what the last label is. We'll get to that in a second. Oh, that's what we want to do. Sorry. That's, we're done. We are done, but that's not what it's called. I'm just saying, in general, that's what we're going to do here. This is going to jump to load standard map. That's what that label is. And then what is the last label here? We don't really have anything. Downloading tiles. Guess we could try jumping to that. The only problem is that that also changes the background mode to map, which we don't want anymore down here. We still have that? Oops. Somehow jumped to the other file here. So, okay, so we want to do this. We want to load this into the background mode, right? Because that's how, that's what the background mode should be. So what did I say it was? Done loading tiles. Done loading tiles, right? So that's map is done. We need to do something where the load level code probably returns back like that there's nothing left to load. Although I'm wondering if this is even the right place to be doing this check, but we'll get to that in a second. Maybe, well, maybe we'll do it now. Because maybe we check the level data first to see if we should even bother calling this. Where would we check that, though? Would it be in the scrolling code? So all of that code is where? It's just our main game loop, right? Probably should separate these out too. Just because there's a lot of stuff in here. Yeah, so this is the main game loop, and then we read our input, and then we process the game state. But as part of that, we have code that's processing the scrolling. Part of what I like about keeping in the load level code is that it's just easy to keep it in there with all the rest of the stuff, but at the same time, it's really kind of the wrong place, because as we're scrolling, we determine, hey, we've reached the end of the map, and we don't need to. We need to do something now. We need to either load a level, or not. So it's almost like this is kind of the wrong spot to be doing that. And like the level object count stuff isn't even used in here at all. We just set it up and point the pointers to the right spot, and then we're done. All right, so should I do this separation here? Just to kind of keep things simpler. All right, I don't think I need to do that right now. The main thing is to just get this working. So, load new game. That's going to call load level. So what I want to do here then is maybe I'll create a subroutine for it to call. Like, it's not, I don't know if it's even, well, all right. So what it's got to do is like this stuff here, right? Like that's the same code, but we have to be able to do that when we're swapping between the different sections of the map. So that should really be a function. So I'm not just copying and pasting that. So so let's do that. We can even move it into here just as a routine here. Load level objects. Does that work? Just do scope level. I just want to scope this stuff out so that there's no conflict in naming or anything like that. And we don't have to make this all caps. Load level objects. And we can make it use the same sort of parameter where param1 is our level that we're loading. The only thing with this is, so this initializes the level object data, and then does this get actually changed anywhere? Just checking because I don't think it does. Now we compare against it, the level object count. So if we're done with objects there, then that would mean, okay, so we do at some point have to be able to increment based on the level object count, but I'm not super worried about that. So, okay, I think we're good there. I'm forcing this to be 0 again because I believe this this modifies A and X and stuff. So just to be on the safe side, we can just reload that there. So that no longer does the level object data changes, which is fine. Let's see how this works in actual practice when it goes to load the level now. Put 2 breakpoints so that we can capture it at the right moment to look at what we want to look at. This is going to load the data and then load the map type. All right. So we're loading the level objects, and what we should get is the 0E, which we are, so that's good. So we have that, and then it's going to increment the object data pointer to the next pointer. So the address is what, 9F CPU address. The value is E2A1. Or is it A1E2? Ah, yeah. So there's our object count, and then here's our object data, which is there's 140 bytes worth of data. And then we have the next object data here. Is that right? Is it only 5 things? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, that is only 5 things. So that is right. And then we get our 5 things. So that's 50 bytes. And then we just have, there's this garbage here. We could even double check this by doing something like just, we were really, really paranoid about making sure that this is right. Oh, it actually, there you go. So you see the 01, 02, 02, all that. That's this in here. That was just arbitrarily coded in by hand at some point when we were working on this. All right. So that gives us what we need there. And then let's go check to make sure that it is looking at the repeat scrolling type properly. It has the value of 2. So it technically should be branching somewhere, but I haven't figured that part out yet. Okay. But that's good. That's what we wanted to do. If we close this, the game is going to get all messed up because it is not sure how to proceed, but that's okay. So what we want to do now is, let's see, what do we need to do for repeat scrolling? So the only thing we really need to do for repeat scrolling, we need to set up the camera position. So that it is, or that's one of the things we need to do. We also need to set the mode to repeat scrolling. Well, we already have that in A, so we just store that into BG mode. And then we want to load increment Y and load A with romem Y. And then store that into camera Y position, and then load A romem. We've got to increment Y again. Right, so the camera Y position is 2 bytes. So we've loaded it up with the 2 bytes from the file, or from our data, rather, I should say, which are 0E10. And then, I mean, technically, that's it. That's all we kind of need to do right now, because there's nothing to load. The question is going to be, like, what is this going to do? Attribute buffer is kind of just going to have junk in it. Screen mem is going to be that for loading. That's going to be, should just go into repeat scroll mode, which means that it should just kind of keep trying to load some meta tile and process the enemy data, which I think is fine. But we'll see. We'll try it out, because I'm not actually 100% sure. No, I press start and it bugs out and then does nothing. So why is that? After we call load level, let's take a look at what this brilliant code of mine does. So we know it's repeat scroll. Oh, it's not repeat scroll? That's 2. A is 2. Branch if not equal. Oh, did I? Yeah. I can't believe I did that. Guess what I forgot? Yep. If you don't do that, it does not treat it like a literal value. So it was, I guess, looking at whatever the value was at address 2. And that does not work. Alright, so loaded at the value is 2, it compares, it's equal, so set the... Yeah, that's an annoying one. It's like so trivial in some ways that it's just annoying that I even forgot to do it. So loaded in E10 and stored that into camera YPOS. Let's see, so the value of camera 6C. 6C. So it's E10 is the value that it's stored in there. Is that right? Camera, Y position. I'm pretty sure that's right. Oh, okay. So it's just got the one word there. So 0E10. And then I'm pretty sure that when we decrement the camera Y position, just got to look. I'm pretty sure we're decrementing the, oh, so it's actually reversed from how I have it. So rather than change the code to load it reversed, I will put it in this way. Okay. Simple change to make. And reload. Okay, so that now should be, yeah, 100E. Trying to tell the FT driver to run as NTSC, but it sometimes slowed the music down. Turns out I was not giving it literal. Yeah. So sometimes it would work because the value just happened to make the FT driver actually want to do what you were asking it to do, right? That's always fun to debug. All right, so then it's done loading the tiles, and then it initializes the audio. It stores the game state. It sets up the sprite memory. It's kind of weird that I'm doing... Oh, because unloading tiles. Oh, wait. No, where are you going? That is not... Where on earth is it jumping to? Oh, man. I can't believe So that's another one. So this is done loading tiles, all caps, versus done loading tiles, camel case. Probably change that. Because it was basically jumping out of the subroutine, which is what I realized something was wrong, but it didn't occur to me what at first. If I Interesting. All right. Well, let's see. Reload. Okay, good. So now it's changing the PPU, setting up where tiles are going to be written to. Gets the attribute buffer and does a bunch of junk there. Yeah, just go to that and exit. Wait for vblank. Okay, that all seems okay. Cool. So that is doing a little. It's not exactly right in that it is loading the map or loading repeat tiles in the wrong spot. The real question is going to be, what is it doing with the camera? It is counting down the camera. I don't see it loading objects, so that's potentially a concern. We'll let that continue to do its thing. Because what should happen now is once we get down to the last part of the camera, so this is at 3, once that gets to 0, we do one more count of 255 and then it's gone. And then we should switch to loading the level data, although that's going to be broken too. But, well, we can see what happens. Ah, okay, it came back. Cool. So that's neat. So that actually did what it was supposed to. but it's, it's referring to the same part of the map, data. So this is the part where I was like, does it even make sense that this load level code is doing what it's doing, like determining if it's repeat scroll or not? It seems like that should be handled outside of this, and this is just responsible for drawing the map, because it's just going to end up doing the same thing as it did before. Which I'm not unhappy about in general. What I don't understand is why we should be getting ships. We should be getting enemies popping in, unless there's something broken about that. So I gotta look at the format for these because I don't remember. But so that's the number of objects, and then I'd be happy with tonight if we just got it so that the enemies popped in, because it's like that's a pretty good big step in the right direction. So we write some sort of ID, and then we write another ID, the entity type, which 6 I believe is correct. Yep, 6 is correct. It's that ship thing. And then we have the X value and the 2-byte Y value. So the X value is 1A, which is 26. And then the 2-byte Y value is 230. Wait. No, sorry, it's 3302. 3302 for 2 bytes. So 0CE6 is what I'm looking at. 0C. So we're way past that now. Let's reload the game. It's not going to work the second time around anyway, because it doesn't initialize that pointer properly. Actually, I take that back. It might work okay. Where's my memory? It's here. So where's the first location? It's 0CE6. So it should happen relatively quickly. Oops, that is not what I want to click on. 0C. Okay, so it should have happened already, but we are not seeing it. Let me slow down the emulation. Okay, so that's roughly where the point is that it occurs. Sulf2. Alright, so we're at 0C, and then let's take a look at what's going on in this code that it did not load the map object. Add map object. So it's just looking at the camera position. I assume that it's some weird bug where it is not reading, like the level object data is wrong for some reason. So enemy index, let's take a look at this. Enemy index is, whoa, no, 87, or no, that's the address. Okay, that's less problematic. What do you do to dereference it? It is 0. Okay, that's better. You can say 87. Where did we get that from? But that's obviously just the address of the variable. Okay, So we get into here. Why is this? Oh, because this is only being done if we are loading tiles from the map. From the map. From the map. But I would have thought something called skip scroll process should still get called anyway. But it doesn't seem to be. That time it was. It only gets called initially. Tiled map processing. Populate single tile. Proceed with repeat scroll mode. Load A and 7. Blah, blah, blah. Skip row process. So it only processes the enemies when we're processing full scrolling, which is a problem. Hey Mauser, $12.99. Just working on changing up how we're processing our scrolling code here. So kind of getting down into some of this stuff that I haven't touched in a while. Let's skip row process. And what is that? That's skip scroll process. The question is, do we need to... Is this in any way dependent on... Oh, thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah, the YouTube stuff has only been back for the last few weeks, so I know the the live streaming. So it's been a little bit tricky, I think, for everybody to kind of get back into that, including myself. But thanks for stopping by. Continue with objects. Check objects. Done with objects. Feel like... Yeah, no, it's okay. Like, all of this is specifically related to processing the object being added to the map, added based on the map. But I wonder if I can extract this out into its own thing. I don't think... I think everything around it is kind of isolated anyway. So let's try that. Let me see something here, though. This jumping, so... Oh, done with objects is the end of that. All right, so... Let me put this code somewhere safe for a moment. Let me save that. Does that break the code? It doesn't break the code as far as assembling. And then this code is broken, but it's... Or, I mean, it was already broken, and it's just scrolling. So that's good. That means that that code for adding the objects is pretty isolated. So what we want to do is... check map object check. Let's do that, and then we'll say map object check here. We'll return the subroutine, and then we'll have to add that code later down. But so what we want to do is we want to check this stuff like after we're done with anything related to actual scrolling, but not with the code that's related to the map stuff in general. Skip. Right, this is the... Yeah, so this is the, like, this is the full end of that. And so we could say jump subroutine, what did I call that? Map object check. This ought to be interesting. Oh, I've got to add the assembler file in here somewhere. Alright, so it didn't complain about that. Now, what we might find is that by doing this, this caused some other problem. This caused some other problem that I was not anticipating with the way that the objects load with the other maps. But let's see where we are first before we worry about that. What is the pointer I'm looking for? Camera is 6C. So we've already passed that, but let's see what's going on here. All right, I'm not seeing it load anything, but let's make sure it's actually calling that code at all. It is not. Is it just literally not doing any of this stuff here? Okay, hold on a second. So then we'll put the check there like it was, so we can hopefully mitigate any potential breakage in the way that the map worked before. So then we include this file for the subroutine. And then process map mode, process repeat scroll mode. If this is this, branch if equal to that. Otherwise, skip row process. So that adds a new row. Oh, that's why. Because this is where I wanted it to call it. Where's the other one? Get rid of that and keep it here. Let's see if that does it. No. Gotta reload the ROM. There we go. Okay, so it actually called it this time, so that's good. Are we gonna get enemies flying in? Who knows? Oh, something happened. Looks like it added it because they are supposed to appear kind of across the screen here. Does it not? Oh, does it not process? Does it not process the entities either in repeat scroll mode? That would be funny. Check screen memory. Initialize sprites. Check left, check right, check up. Those are the inputs. Add bullet, add whatever. Process of object loop. It should be doing that still. Like, I don't see why it wouldn't be running that code. Okay, it is. So that's not the issue. Here's our memory, and then what did I say the address was, or the CE6. So slow down the emulation a little bit. So it should start. It should load that on the screen soon, in theory. I mean, I think the objects are being loaded. Let's see. I just don't think it's populating sprites for whatever reasons. Objects is at 500, right? So we have the cloud and the ship, and then the cloud will go away off screen, but then we should see when the other ships, when the enemy ships come in, we should see them start to process in memory over here. Yep, there's one. There's another one. There's another one. There's another one. So they're there. Why are they not drawing? Why are they not drawing? Do we not have their sprites loaded in? No, that's that is the right tiles. So I mean that's all good. Why would they not be drawing? Are we not processing the sprite memory at 400 to represent those sprites? Is it 400? I believe it is. Yeah, the drawing of the tiles is off because of a lot of reasons. One is probably because of I'm not resetting the location appropriately for the PPU name table that it needs to draw on and stuff like that. I'm not worried about that right now. What I'm trying to do is just get the sort of the background logic working, where it's scrolling the background. That's confusing. I don't mean background in terms of like the tile background, but like the underlying logic of the processing of the objects, and the fact that it's even doing the repeat scrolling code at that time with the objects loading and stuff like that. So yes, you're right. There is definitely something wrong about that. But it is not, I'm not worried about that right now. So it is, oops. It's initializing the sprites there. It doesn't copy those over. Oh, well, it should be, actually, based on sprite mem. Where does sprite mem get initialized? That's 400. Initialize sprites loop. So that should be okay. But where, so this is just clearing them out, and then where is it actually updating the sprite memory? It's doing that here in draw sprites. Is it not calling draw sprites? But I don't think that's what it's doing. But we would know if we don't hit the code there. Okay, so it is calling that. I mean, actually, that makes no sense, right? Like, if it weren't, then we wouldn't see the ship, wouldn't be animating when we press the button. We wouldn't see that cloud. So the question then becomes, what is it actually drawing, or what is the problem? Is it not finding the sprite? It could be there's some sort of alignment that's off that's causing it not to find those sprites in particular. What is this doing? This should really be... This is kind of dumb, this code. Because, let's see. So, I just realized that this code is a little bit dumb, because really what it could be doing is it could just be saying branch if not equal, branch if equal to check end sprite, right? So like if the entity type is, or the entity sprite is 0, then there's nothing to draw. But as it is, we're checking it against all of the sprite types. And then we're checking it against all the sprites and the sprite types, and then being like, okay, I guess we don't have that, which is not smart. So that would then give us a different behavior here in the breakpoint. Hopefully. Wait, did I accidentally... This should be branch if not equal to that. Otherwise check end sprite. Yeah, that's fine. So draw entities. Oh, there's cloud sprite. That's why it got shifted. It's this. So far we haven't gone beyond the cloud sprite. If we do this, we'll see that it actually goes to draw the cloud sprite. But I don't think we're getting a sprite type, or at least a valid sprite type, even though the entity seems okay. Yeah, that's weird. So the entity seems okay, but the sprite type is not. What is in the data? We have... Oh yeah, that's 0. That shouldn't be. Well, you know, sometimes you surprise yourself with what actually works. And it's just a prototype anyway, so... Okay, so why is it that we're getting a bad sprite ID, which should be the first thing? It shouldn't be 0. It should be, let's see, if it's a little bit, it should be an 8. I do vaguely recall this being a problem last time. I don't remember why this was a problem, though. But let's see, that would explain why nothing is drawing. It's because the sprite types that are being used are invalid, and so it's not able to find what it... Oh, there we go. That was it, right? Yep, there it is. Okay, so that's the problem. The problem is that the sprite type is wrong. That's actually really good, though, because the fact that it spawned that thing is... We're like most of the way there. I mean, I guess it depends on how confident you are in your circuit design, right? Because, like, if you if you feel confident in what you've put together, then that's one thing. But otherwise, I mean, they're not that expensive, I guess. I don't know. Do they have a limit in terms of, like, do you have to, not a limit, a minimum? Do you have to order like 5 PCBs or something like that? I remember I ordered, I want to say something like that. It was like $20, which, you know, I hate to waste the $20, but I know what you mean, like doing it in a breadboard or something like that, where if you could get a clean PCB to work with, sometimes it's way easier. $2 a piece, that's not bad. Oh wait, they'll do 5 2 or 4 layer PCBs for $2. That's really cheap. Huh. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Why is it that the sprite ID in the export is wrong? What? Where did... that's really weird. Huh. Yeah, I'll have to... That's really cool. I didn't know they were that inexpensive. I was using... Was it PCBWay? Or Oshpark? One of those. And it was... I mean, it wasn't expensive, but it wasn't that cheap. That's really cheap. For that kind of price, it's definitely way better to... Even if you make a mistake, the boards are so much easier to work with. Alright, so is it because it thinks it's not visible? What is going on? Export tool. What are you doing to me here? So it's exporting. It is... Oh! Haha. Yeah. I turned that off because we were troubleshooting that buffer overflow. So yeah, that would make a big difference. So the question now is, does this actually have the right information? Or are they still 0 though? They're still 0. Oh, but that was because... Oh, I remember why. So this was because we have the sprite type thing in here. And where was that supposed to go into? I thought that was going into the spawn sprite string, which then was getting, it should be populating the ID there. It is all lowercase. Let's see where. So we turned off this check to see if it was visible. We just basically said, okay, as long as it's got a value in it, we're good to go. And, oh, it is not even calling that code. Oops. So why isn't it calling that code? Oh, because it's not, it's a repeat scroll, and so we said, okay, don't bother doing that. But did we do that because I don't think we need to do that way here anymore, because we do need to look that up. Initially we didn't, because I didn't think about how that would kind of all come together. So, okay, so it's not invisible. And we compare the spawn sprite against that and the external sprite, and we get no match until eventually we'll get a match. And then we'll get an ID. Maybe. All right, so let's go to the exported data. Take a look. Ocean one object.bin. That's here, and okay, now everything has the right values. Okay, so that makes me feel a bit better because the issue was with that process. Now the other thing is, let's fix that. Let's fix this code here that gets generated, because it's, like I said, it's kind of dumb that we're not. Do I want to do this right now? It's dumb that we're not doing this correctly. What we should be doing is it loads it, and then we should just say branch if equal to, oh sorry, branch if not equal. So if it's a non-zero value, then we need to go to the next anonymous label. And then otherwise we're going to jump to, what is it called? Check end sprite. Basically, check to make sure it has a real value, and then if it doesn't, don't even bother comparing against the other types. So let's re-export that. Are you referring to Discord for what? For the JLC PCB, or this this YouTube channel, or what? Or just Discord in general? If you are, he is on Discord. He's on Video Game Sage pretty regularly. Which is funny because, you know, I recognize this the handle, but I had never actually said that out loud before, so I was having a moment of difficulty early on in the stream, like verbally parsing that. Did I close Fred? No. Why would I do that? Fred is my friend. I think Fred is one of those tools that I've used for longer than probably most any other. Like, I've used Fred probably since like 2001. Oh, my Discord. Yeah, I don't know if he knows about my Discord. Probably not. I don't really make it known, but hey, if you're a patron, you get to be on the Discord with me. Although, to be fair, you get to be on Discord with me at Video Game Sage, or any of the other servers I'm on too, but then it's my Discord and I can post whatever I want. I'm not sure that that's a good thing or not. But there are a few people on there, like Brandon, who likes to share stuff on there. We need more people. Why? How many Discord servers are you on? Because I feel like I'm on too many. I'm probably not even on as many as most people. I just I don't know, it gets confusing at times, or not confusing. It's just like there's too much going on in too many different places. And and so it makes it a little bit like hectic to keep in touch with 3 to 4. So I've got 3 that I'm like actively on, or 4 of them actively on, and then I've got a bunch of other ones that I've essentially muted because it was too much stuff going on. It was just too many things distracting me. So let's see. Why did that not get updated? That says 9 o'clock, but it is not 9 o'clock. So the export tool crap out on me here. It is only exporting that right now. What? Oh, because I turned off poop. Yeah, because I turned off all the other stuff. Okay. That's not the end of the world. I gotta fix that. But it's really not important right now. I want to finish up what we're doing here. I did add the code change in, so when we actually do generate that code, it will be corrected now and actually only check the things that it needs to check by adding the this code here. What's nice is it's actually pretty simple, and then it fixes the problem of the unused anonymous labels for the most part. Only this one would remain, which is nice. I actually like that gets rid of that. So anyway, it's not really important for right now. We should start to see, the sprites all appear now. Yeah, all right, cool. You can actually avoid them now, which is nice. And we actually collide with them in a way that makes sense. All right, so this is really cool. What is the Patreon? Oh, yeah, no, that's fine. Here, it's in the videos on YouTube, but is it this? Yeah. So you're seeing all the details, but yeah, it's just Clearvis. And yeah, if you sign up, whatever amount you sign up for, you get access to the Discord. So yeah, thank you, I should say. All right, so let's do this. Let's go a little crazy here, and let's add another set of objects, and let's just see how this behaves. And in theory, this should be fine. All right, so let's export that, knowing that it will only export the objects, but that's okay. Ocean 1. And then replace that. Yeah, I mean, so the Discord, I added that because a few folks asked about if there was a Discord. And I didn't think that we needed one necessarily because, I mean, I'm always kind of available through Discord. as Breadman 812 can attest to, I'm almost always on there. But it's kind of cool that he and I forget what what his handle on here is. He's not on, so I don't remember. It's something with Meep. He was on earlier. Oh, Riddle Meep this is on it as well. Yeah, he's Andrew D2 on there. They tend to post a bunch of stuff on there, but there are a few folks on there besides those guys and myself. And I try to, I'll post that I'm streaming on there. I'll post the link to the stream on YouTube. I try to post some stuff. But sometimes Breadman 812 will beat me to it, even with some of the content. So let's see. So that's been built. Let's see how that now looks if we reload the ROM. So what we can do next stream is whoa. Ah, no. Rewind. I don't want to be dead yet. Take that. What we can do is, man, got me. That was a legitimate. I messed up. All right, so what we can do next time, yeah, there they are. Cool. So what we can do next time, that background is actually kind of trippy. It's really funny. What we can do next time is fix the repeat scroll background, fix the fact that it's not switching over to the actual map, because the stream, we just hit about 2 hours, so I've been trying, unless it's something where I'm like really deep into it and can't stop because it's broken, I've been trying to keep these a little bit more reasonable in terms of length, because I think I've mentioned there are streams from when I first started doing this that are like 3 and 4 hours long, and that's just a lot. I know people who do like to listen to these, even at 2 speed, it's still a lot of content. So, and it's a lot for me to do too. Oh, look at that. The enemies restarted properly. That's great. So that's a lot of progress. We actually ended up getting this working, and we'll get the background tile stuff implemented correctly so that it actually uses one of the meta tiles. And then we will fix the fact that it is not updating the background correctly, as Miralupa pointed out. There's some sort of weird bug where you can see it's actually trailing, the update is trailing the scrolling instead of preceding it above that box. So we got to figure out what's going on there. It's probably just a simple issue with the logic that got changed for the map load. And then after that, we'll figure out how we have to handle the data that we added here for level data, so that it knows to actually look at this byte here and then start working with this map and load that map. So we're like halfway there. I'm pretty happy that we got this far, because that is I thought this part, getting the enemies to load without the actual background, was going to be harder than it turned out to be. I mean, there's still a lot to fix and change, but I thought it was going to be kind of a disaster, but it's only sort of a disaster. So with that, thank you all for joining me this evening. As always, if you want to find me, I am on Twitter at Clairvis. I am on Discord as Zelius or Clairvis. I'm on Video Game Sage. I am, as I mentioned, on my Patreon's Discord. You can also reach me at zelius@gmail.com, or just comment on the video, the recording of this on YouTube below, and I'll try and get back to you as soon as possible. And yeah, so there's a Patreon and a Buy Me a Coffee if you're so inclined to be as generous as some of the folks that are here on the stream right now. Definitely appreciate it. Totally not required, but if you have questions, let me know. Try to answer them, and have a great weekend. That was very rambly and repetitive, but I'm tired. Have a great weekend. Have a good night. See you later.